Our top story, the Group of 20's leaders summit ended Sunday with an agreement on climate that commits its member nations to end coal financing by the end of the year and to aim to contain global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. But the final communique lacked firm pledges and failed to put an end date on the actual use of coal. It did not make any commitments to improve on issues like climate finance, paving the way for difficult negotiations at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. The statement said the G20 is against a premature withdrawal of support for the COVID-hit global economy. We've taken decisive measures to support countries most in need. We've agreed upon a shared vision to combat climate change. Developed nations commit $100 billion annually to help developing nations meet clean energy targets and remain vigilant to the global challenges that are impacting our economies. But the statement has left many disappointed. Prime Minister Modi even tweeted leaving for Glasgow after a fruitful G20 summit in Rome. During the summit, we were able to have elaborate deliberations on issues of global importance such as fighting the pandemic, improving health infrastructure, boosting economic cooperation and furthering innovation. Prime Minister Modi has now arrived in Glasgow to attend COP26 climate summit today and tomorrow amidst international calls for India to raise its climate commitments. Leaders from around the world are gathering in Scotland's biggest city to lay out their vision for addressing the common challenge of global warming. But can India adopt environment-friendly technologies without an adverse impact on our economy? After China and the United States, India is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases and is still largely dependent on coal and oil. India's energy demand is expected to rise sharply over the next decade as the economy continues on its growth trajectory. Now, Prime Minister Modi has a series of high-profile meetings lined up at the COP26 as well, several key bilaterals. So what is a COP26? The world is warming because of fossil fuel emissions caused by humans, and extreme weather events linked to climate change are intensifying, and governments have agreed on urgent collective action is needed. So at COP26 is where all these negotiations will take place, where leaders are meeting in a bid to avert drastic global warming or climate change. 200 countries are being asked for their plans to cut emissions by 2030 and also keep alive the target of capping global warming at 1.5 Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Now, India's representative to the talks, Piyush Goyal, says that developed nations that have enjoyed the fruits of energy should cut emissions and that India will represent the voice of the developing world as it fights climate change to ensure a better planet for future generations.
Developed countries, which have already enjoyed the fruits of low-cost energy for several years, will have to go in for net zero much faster and possibly even go in for net negative so that they can release policy space and some carbon space for the developing countries to pursue their development agenda.
And the Prime Minister also interacted with the Indian community after arriving in Glasgow. Here's what some of the people had to say.
We are from Edinburgh. We come here. We are just waiting for Modi to be here. We are so excited. We saw him. Oh wow! We were overwhelmed to see him. Actually, it is fantastic to him. Meet him, greet him.
Oh, very, very excited. So first time Modi ji come to Scotland, and we are very, very, very excited about it. Looking forward to it.
We are very happy to see
Very happy to see him today.
Our Diwali has started today.
We're excited. You can see on my face.
How do you see the visit of Prime Minister Modi?
Yeah, we are very fortunate, and he's just, Modi. Yeah.
बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड है. हम सभी एक ग्लासगो इंडियन ग्रुप को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं जो ग्रुप ऑफ आईटी प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, और हम सभी यहाँ पे जो प्रवासी भारतीय हैं उन लोगों की मदद करते हैं. भारत से भी जो लोग आते हैं उनकी मदद करते हैं. चाहे कोविड में हम लोगों ने बहुत ज़्यादा मदद करी है. जो लोग स्ट्रगल थे, स्टूडेंट्स जो स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे, हमारा एक नारा है भारत के बाहर भारत का निर्माण. इस नारे को लेके हम लोग सब साथ में चल रहे हैं. जो भी भारतीय किसी भी तरह की परिस्थिति में स्टक कर लेते हैं वो हमें रीच आउट करते हैं हमारे फेसबुक पेज के थ्रू. ग्लासगो इंडियंस उसका नाम है @ग्लासगो इंडियंस, एंड वी ट्राई टू हेल्प देम. बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हैं. मोदी जी का आना फर्स्ट टाइम मोदी का ग्लासगो आना, राइट, स्कॉटलैंड में आना इज अ बिग थिंग फॉर अस। हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा खुश हैं। हम लोग पिछले 4 घंटे से वेट कर रहे थे और उनको देखने के बाद बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा लगा। इट्स अ ड्रीम कम ट्रू फॉर अस।
वी आर प्राउड ऑफ आवर प्राइम मिनिस्टर।
वी आर प्राउड ऑफ
एक सपना सच हुए जैसी फीलिंग है।
Welcome back. Schools, colleges and universities as well as coaching institutes in Delhi reopen from today, and in Kerala as well. There's going to be a staggered reopening of schools. So in Delhi earlier this week, the Delhi Disaster Management Authority had allowed the resumption of physical classes. However, both students and school staff have been asked to strictly abide by COVID protocols, wearing a face mask, maintaining physical distance. While many principals and heads of school associations have welcomed the decision, saying it was taken at the right time, some parents, on the other hand, are divided on the issue, with some calling it necessary to make up for learning loss, and others raising concerns about COVID amid festivities and rising pollution levels. NDTV Sonakshi sent us this report from one school.
It's a Monday morning and a very exciting one for many children because they will be seeing the face of a classroom after nearly 20 months. I'm in the national capital and Delhi schools are reopening from today across all classes. In particular schools, the school's management have taken the decision to open classes in a phased manner.
बहुत टाइम के बाद जाने वाले इस क्लासरूम के अंदर और दो साल हो गए।
ऑलमोस्ट 2 साल होने वाले हैं। आप मुझे बताइए, ये पूरा साल 1.5 साल घर के अंदर पढ़ाई कर करके ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हुए थे, कैसा था एक्सपीरियंस?
अच्छा था।
अच्छा था। लेकिन आप उस चीज़ को मिस करेंगे?
हाँ।
और क्लासरूम में आने का आप क्या करेंगे? फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाट विल यू डू व्हेन यू एंटर क्लासरूम? क्या करोगे?
खेलेंगे थोड़ा।
खेलोगे? व्हाट इज योर नेम और आप कहाँ से आए हैं?
R265C।
और आपका सबसे फेवरेट एक्टिविटी क्या है स्कूल में करने का?
पढ़ाई और प्लेइंग।
पढ़ाई एंड प्लेइंग। Okay. So kids over here really looking forward to coming back to a classroom. I also want to ask you, tell me your name. आपका नाम क्या है और कितना मिस किया था अपने स्कूल?
बहुत।
हाँ। आप मम्मी पापा को बोलते थे कि स्कूल कब खुलेंगे, पूछते थे आप?
Yes.
Right? अभी आज जब स्कूल खुल गए हैं, आज सारे क्लासेस ओपन हो जाएंगे, आपको व्हाट इज़ द वन थिंग दैट आप चाहते हैं कि आप करेंगे? व्हाट डू यू लुक फॉरवर्ड टू? आप क्या करोगे सबसे पहले?
सबसे पहले अपनी सारी फ्रेंडों से मिलेंगे और बहुत सारी बातें करेंगे।
अच्छा, बहुत सारी बातें करोगे। Classes will only be open for 50% of the capacity. That is a rule that has been put out by the Education Department of the Delhi government. There are strict guidelines in place, protocols in place that have to be followed. With camera person Sushil Rathi in Delhi, Sonakshi Chakravarti, NDTV.
And after a hiatus of more than a year and a half due to COVID outbreak, schools in Kerala are set to reopen, but in a staggered manner from today, starting with classes to 7, 10 and 12, and with COVID protocols like biobubbles in place. With 95% of the population who are over 18 years of age being vaccinated with at least the first dose, as well as the reduction in the number of cases, Kerala has been able to relax restrictions. So finally, schools reopening in a staggered manner in Kerala as well. In other news, the government is claiming reports of a fertilizer shortage being faced by farmers across states like UP, Punjab and Haryana as false and baseless, even though on the ground desperate farmers have been seen going to extreme measures. Here's a report from Haryana.
Shortage of fertilizer in Haryana is so acute that it has led to open looting by farmers. Wheat sowing season has started, but there is no fertilizer, and farmers like Satbir Singh in Haryana's Kaithal district are getting desperate after standing in queues for 3 days.
तो मिला नहीं मिले बाबू। कितने गड्ढे चाहिए? 18 जी। तो कितने दे रहे हैं आपको? कितने के लिए कहा गया? ये तो 3 कह रहे हैं जी।
Harban Kaur is also waiting in line while her husband tries to sell the paddy crop.
एक आदमी वो भी मंडी में बैठे हैं, कितने दिन से परेशान हो रहे हैं, बच्चे हैं, अब आएंगे स्कूल से, खाना खाएंगे नहीं खाएंगे, छोटे हैं अभी।
Haryana's Agriculture Minister JP Dalal has said about 3 lakh metric tons of DAP fertilizer is needed for the next Rabi crop. Till date, about 1.3 lakh metric tons of DAP manure was available, of which 1.10 lakh metric tons had been given to farmers. As farmers get desperate, state central government officials blame China for the shortage.
प्रोडक्शन देखिए ज़्यादातर ये चाइना से आयात होता था। चाइना से हमारे व्यावसायिक संबंध खराब होने के कारण जो है इसकी आपूर्ति पर फर्क पड़ा है।
This is not a crisis that is limited to Kaithal or even Haryana. Farmers from several states including Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala have all in the past few weeks complained about fertilizer shortages. Delay in sowing the wheat crop will impact the subsequent earning of farmers, and many fear that they will be forced to take additional loans at a time when many farmers in the region have seen crop damage due to unseasonal rain. With Sunil Ravish in Kaithal and Mohammad Ghazali, T. Joshua Chin for NDTV.
And finally, good news for Rajnikant fans and for everyone. In fact, Rajnikant is fine, and he thanks fans for all their good wishes and for all their prayers as he finally leaves the hospital to return home. He had gone in for a routine checkup and he was kept for observation, and now he has left the hospital. He thanked fans for all their good wishes. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Up ahead, we'll focus on the COP26. Now, ahead of that, the Group of 20's Leaders Summit ended on Sunday with an agreement on climate that commits its member nations to end coal financing by the end of the year. The 20 biggest world economies said they would accelerate our actions to achieve net zero emissions by or around mid-century. The G20 falling short of stronger climate commitments. In its statement, it said the G20 against premature withdrawal of support for COVID-hit global economy. We've taken decisive measures to support countries most in need to overcome the pandemic. We have agreed upon a shared vision to combat climate change. The G20, however, fails to adopt 1.5 degrees as the target to limit warming. Developed nations commit $100 billion annually to help developing nations meet clean energy targets. The final statement leaving many disappointed, and the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, tweeted, "While I welcome the G20's recommitment to global solutions, I leave Rome with my hopes unfulfilled, but at least they are not buried. Onwards to COP26 in Glasgow to keep the goal of 1.5 degrees alive and to implement promises on finance and adaptation for people and planet." Prime Minister Modi tweeted, leaving for Glasgow after a fruitful G20 summit in Rome. During the summit, we were able to have elaborate deliberations on issues of global importance such as fighting the pandemic, improving health infrastructure, boosting economic cooperation and furthering innovation. So from Italy, the Prime Minister arrived in Glasgow to attend the COP26 climate summit today and tomorrow amidst international calls for India to raise its climate commitments. Leaders from around the world have gathered in Scotland's biggest city to lay out their vision for addressing the common challenge of global warming and climate change. But can India adopt environmental friendly technologies without an adverse impact on our economy? After China and the United States, India is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases and is still largely dependent on coal and oil. India's energy demands are expected to rise sharply over the next decade as the economy continues on its growth trajectory. Now, Prime Minister Modi has a series of high-profile bilaterals as well lined up at COP26. India's representative to the talks, Piyush Goyal, who has been in Glasgow, said that developed nations that have enjoyed the fruits of energy should cut emissions, and India will represent the voice of the developing world as it fights climate change to ensure a better planet for future generations.
Developed countries, which have already enjoyed the fruits of low-cost energy for several years, will have to go in for net zero much faster and possibly even go in for net negative so that they can release policy space and some carbon space for the developing countries to pursue their development agenda.
After a two-day visit to Italy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached Scotland. Monday is going to be a very busy day for the Prime Minister. He begins his day by meeting members of the Indian community and diaspora, about 45 persons from both Edinburgh and Scotland and Glasgow regions who are achievers in the space of IT, business, medicine and so on. Among them are two young innovators who've done well for themselves and have ideas to share with the Prime Minister with regards to renewable energy, particularly solar energy. By noon, the Prime Minister will be reaching the main venue for COP26 Climate Change Summit. This is the inaugural ceremony that he will be attending, following which by about 1:45 p.m. local time, the Prime Minister of India will be meeting UK Prime Minister Mr. Boris Johnson for a bilateral meeting. We're being told that this is going to be a short, brief meeting, and this meeting will focus on a variety of issues, including one of the key dialogues being vaccine certification. Following which, by about 2:25, the Prime Minister of India has been invited to a close group meeting on climate action, and the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has been asked to speak about adaptation. By about 3:15 p.m. local time is the main event of the day, which by about 9 p.m. India time will be the time when the Prime Minister's speech for about 5 minutes or more will be on the national statement itself to share India's viewpoint and India's standpoint on the matter or the issue of climate change. The speech will be in Hindi, and there will be live translation that will be taking place, and we're being told that the Prime Minister will largely focus on the progress that India has made so far, the kind of achievements that India as a nation has made so far since the Paris 2015 agreement, and what further new initiatives the Prime Minister is likely to set for himself. We're also being told that there will be a pitch being made by PM Modi to try and get more financial assistance from developed nations. By evening, the Prime Minister is likely to visit Kelvin Grove Museum, which is a location where heads of states are being invited for a reception, again to share informally viewpoints on climate action. So clearly the agenda, it seems, is fully packed, and the Prime Minister is likely to make a very keen observation on what states otherwise have to share in terms of targets for themselves. All eyes are on India, and there is a lot of pressure given India is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases. But the fact that the Prime Minister has physically come to attend the summit, even as the Chinese heads of state as well as the US heads of states are missing in action, seems to convey that the commitment that India has towards acting on the matter is very high, and is that being taken as priority. Following which, on the 2nd of November, we're being told that there will be a lot of bilateral meetings that the Prime Minister will hold with heads of several other countries, as well as meeting with several other members of various countries that are participating in the COP26, the Conference of Parties, in the main conference itself. Radhika Iyer reporting from Glasgow, in Scotland, NDTV.
So the Prime Minister has a busy day ahead. He arrived at his hotel in Glasgow to a warm welcome by the Indian community there. Many had gathered there to greet the Prime Minister, and very excited to actually see him.
My name is Abhijit Chakrabarti. I'm from Edinburgh. We are from Edinburgh. We come here. We are just waiting for Modi to be here. We are so excited. We saw him. We were overwhelmed to see him actually. It is fantastic to greet him.
Oh, very excited. So first time Modi ji come to Scotland, and we are very excited about it. Looking forward to it.
We're very happy to see
Very happy to see him today.
Our Diwali has started today.
Oh, we're excited. You can see on my face.
How do you see the visit of Prime Minister Modi?
Yeah, we are very fortunate, and he's just, Modi. Yeah.
बहुत ज़्यादा खुश हैं हम लोग. पिछले 4 घंटे से वेट कर रहे थे, और उनको देखने के बाद बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा लगा. इट्स अ ड्रीम कम ट्रू फॉर अस.
We are proud of our Prime Minister.
Welcome back. Now, in India, a season of retracted ad campaigns after outrage and threats. Now, fashion designer Sabyasachi Mukherjee is the latest. His label pulled promotional material for its Mangal Sutra collection after a Madhya Pradesh minister threatened to send the police after him. They said in a statement the campaign was intended as a celebration and we are deeply saddened that it has instead offended a section of our society. So we at Sabyasachi have decided to withdraw the campaign. Now, the move came after Madhya Pradesh Home Minister Narendra Mishra on Sunday issued a 24-hour ultimatum to Mr. Mukherjee demanding that he withdraw the advertisement with objectionable and obscene portrayal of Mangal Sutras or he would send the police. If the country's youth can decide who to vote, they can also decide what to watch. That's what stand-up comedian Munawar Farooqi has said after 3 shows in Mumbai featuring him were cancelled following threats from the Bajrang Dal. The Mumbai shows of Munawar Farooqi were cancelled after members of the Bajrang Dal reportedly threatened to burn down the venues. Here he speaks to NDTV.
काफ़ी आपके अगेंस्ट हैशटैग चलाए गए, ट्रेंड बनाया गया, यहाँ पर आया, कहा गया, आपको कब समझ में आया? क्योंकि हमने देखा इससे पहले भी क्या कुछ हुआ, लेकिन फिर वापस एक ही चीज़ वापस से दोहराई जा रही है. किस तरह से आप देखते हैं? क्योंकि जो ऑडिटोरियम्स हैं वो भी काफ़ी समय तक बंद थे, कई लोग आते हैं वहाँ पर काम करने, हमने उस पर भी स्टोरी की थी. 3 शोज बैक टू बैक आपने कैंसिल करने पड़े.
ये सैड है, ये काफ़ी सैड है ये चीज़, बट कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है कि क्या गलत अगर मैं इसको कहूँ भी कि ये गलत हो रहा है तो आई थिंक अभी बहुत सारी चीज़ें गलत हो रही है. तो ये बड़ी बात ऑडियंस के लिए है क्योंकि आज ऐसी चीज़ है कि 1500 लोग अगर 3 दिन तक 500 लोग प्लान कर रहे हैं कुछ और एक महीने पहले टिकट्स खरीदे हुए हैं तो दे आर वेरी एक्साइटेड. ये गलत इसलिए है क्योंकि किसी इंसान को काम करने से रोकना और उस पर इल्ज़ाम ये लगाना कि वो जो काम कर रहा है उसमें ये कर रहा है, तो वो बिल्कुल गलत है. मेरे शोज़ में ऐसा कोई भी किसी के धर्म के बारे में किसी तरह की कोई ऐसी टिप्पणी है ही नहीं.
पूछना चाहूँगी ये पहली बार नहीं है, अगर जब से ये सारी चीज़ें वापस शुरू हुई हैं, ये पहली बार तो नहीं होगा कि आपका शो कैंसिल किया गया है कुछ?
पहली बार नहीं, लास्ट टू लास्ट वीक मेरे 1 अक्टूबर को ना गुजरात में शोज थे और गुजरात शो में भी उन्होंने सेम चीज़ करी, ऑडिटोरियम को धमकी दिया और ऑडिटोरियम बहुत वही तोड़ फोड़ करने का धमकी. मेरे पास सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर है, आई कैन वर्क, मैं बेल पे हूँ, मेरे बेल ऑर्डर में सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब मुझे रोकता नहीं है काम करने से तो आई डोंट थिंक मुझे कोई रोक सकता है. 50 में से ज़्यादा धमकियाँ आती है. मैंने 3 बार सिम कार्ड चेंज कर चुका हूँ, नंबर लीक होता है, मुझे कॉल करके गाली वाली देते. नफरत हावी हो रही है, एक शो कैंसिल हुआ इसका मतलब है नफरत हावी हो रही है, लोग हेट फैला रहे हैं.
Now, the government is claiming reports of shortage of fertilizers being faced by farmers across states like UP, Punjab, Haryana as false and baseless, even though on the ground desperate farmers have been seen going through extreme measures, going into long lines as well just to get fertilizers. An official has said it's because of strained ties with China that's affected the fertilizer imports. Here's a report from Haryana.
Shortage of fertilizer in Haryana is so acute that it has led to open looting by farmers. Wheat sowing season has started, but there is no fertilizer, and farmers like Satbir Singh in Haryana's Kaithal district are getting desperate after standing in queues for 3 days.
तो मिला नहीं मिले बाबू. कितने गड्ढे चाहिए? 18 जी. तो कितने दे रहे हैं आपको? कितने के लिए कहा गया? ये तो 3 कह रहे हैं जी.
Harban Kaur is also waiting in line while her husband tries to sell the paddy crop.
एक आदमी वो भी मंडी में बैठे हैं, कितने दिन से परेशान हो रहे हैं, बच्चे हैं, अब आएंगे स्कूल से, खाना खाएंगे नहीं खाएंगे, छोटे हैं अभी.
Haryana's Agriculture Minister JP Dalal has said about 3 lakh metric tons of DAP fertilizer is needed for the next Rabi crop. Till date, about 1.3 lakh metric tons of DAP manure was available, of which 1.10 lakh metric tons had been given to farmers. As farmers get desperate, state central government officials blame China for the shortage.
प्रोडक्शन देखिए ज़्यादातर ये चाइना से आयात होता था. चाइना से हमारे व्यावसायिक संबंध खराब होने के कारण जो है इसकी आपूर्ति पर फर्क पड़ा है।
This is not a crisis that is limited to Kaithal or even Haryana. Farmers from several states including Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala have all in the past few weeks complained about fertilizer shortages. Delay in sowing the wheat crop will impact the subsequent earning of farmers, and many fear that they will be forced to take additional loans at a time when many farmers in the region have seen crop damage due to unseasonal rain. With Sunil Ravish in Kaithal and Mohammad Ghazali, D. Joshua Chin for NDTV.
With that, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, schools in Delhi are reopening from today. Even in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, we'll get you all the details. Welcome back. Well, schools are reopening across the country in several states after a hiatus of 19 months. Schools, colleges, universities and coaching institutes in Delhi reopened from today. Earlier this week, the Delhi Disaster Management Authority allowed the resumption of physical classes. However, both students and school staff have been asked to strictly abide by COVID protocols, wearing a face mask, maintaining physical distancing, while many principals and heads of school associations have welcomed it, saying it's about time. Parents, on the other hand, have been divided on the issue. Some calling it necessary, others voicing their concerns about COVID risk amid festivities and rising pollution levels. Here's what the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodiya had to say.
ये जो फैसला लिया है बच्चों के लिए स्कूल खोलने का, छोटे बच्चों के लिए, क्या ये एक रिस्क है या एक सोची समझी एक कोशिश है?
ये ज़रूरत है। हमारे इन बच्चों की पढ़ाई का बहुत नुकसान हो चुका है। हम चाहे जितनी बात करें, लेकिन ऑनलाइन क्लास में उतनी अच्छी पढ़ाई हो ही नहीं सकती है जितनी यहाँ स्कूल में आके हो सकती है। और इनकी जैसे अभी हम 8वीं क्लास में खड़े हैं तो 7वीं क्लास तो पूरी की पूरी ऑनलाइन निकल गई और काफ़ी लॉस हुआ है। लेकिन अब धीरे धीरे सब कवर करने की कोशिश करेंगे। आज पहला दिन है, बच्चे स्कूल आए हैं, बच्चों के चेहरे पे खुशी भी है, कंसर्न भी है, थोड़ा सा पेरेंट्स के मन में भी है, लेकिन खुशी है कि हम स्कूल लौट रहे हैं। हमारे बच्चे भी सब बेचैन थे कि किसी तरह से स्कूल खुल जाए और वो उत्साह सब में दिख रहा है। सब इसीलिए देखो अब पूरी बड़ी संख्या में आए, पूरी दिल्ली से मेरे पास रिपोर्ट्स आ रही हैं। हमारे लार्जली गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स में अधिकतर में बच्चे बहुत अच्छी संख्या में आ रहे हैं। प्राइवेट स्कूलों में भी पेरेंट्स के थोड़े कंसर्न हैं। धीरे धीरे 2-4 दिन बाद अभी माहौल देखेंगे, फिर दिवाली की छुट्टियों के बाद और माहौल देखेंगे तो ज़रूरी वो भी भेजना शुरू।
It's a Monday morning and a very exciting one for many children because they will be seeing the face of a classroom after nearly 20 months. I'm in the national capital and Delhi schools are reopening from today across all classes. In particular schools, the schools management have taken the decision to open classes in a phased manner.
बहुत टाइम के बाद जाने वाले इस क्लासरूम के अंदर और दो साल हो गए।
ऑलमोस्ट 2 साल होने वाले हैं। आप मुझे बताइए, ये पूरा साल 1.5 साल घर के अंदर पढ़ाई कर करके ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हुए थे, कैसा था एक्सपीरियंस?
अच्छा था।
अच्छा था। लेकिन आप उस चीज़ को मिस करेंगे?
हाँ।
और क्लासरूम में आने का कितना आप क्या करेंगे? फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाट विल यू डू व्हेन यू एंटर अ क्लासरूम? क्या करोगे?
खेलेंगे थोड़े।
खेलोगे? ओके। व्हाट इज योर नेम और आप कहाँ से आए हैं?
R265C।
ओके। और आपका सबसे फेवरेट एक्टिविटी क्या है स्कूल में करने का?
पढ़ाई और प्लेइंग।
पढ़ाई एंड प्लेइंग? Okay, so kids over here really looking forward to coming back to a classroom. I also want to ask you, tell me your name, आपका नाम क्या है और कितना मिस किया था अपने स्कूल?
बहुत।
हाँ। आप मम्मी पापा को बोलते थे कि स्कूल कब खुलेंगे, पूछते थे आप?
Yes.
Right? अभी आज जब स्कूल खुल गए हैं, आज सारे क्लासेस ओपन हो जाएंगे, आपको what is the one thing that आप चाहते हैं कि आप करेंगे? What do you look forward to? आप क्या करोगे सबसे पहले?
सबसे पहले अपनी सारी फ्रेंडों से मिलेंगे और बहुत सारी बातें करेंगे।
अच्छा, बहुत सारी बातें करोगे। Classes will only be open for 50% of the capacity. That is a rule that has been put out by the Education Department of the Delhi government. There are strict guidelines in place, protocols in place that have to be followed. With camera person Sushil Rathi in Delhi, Shanakshi Chakrabarti, NDTV.
And in Kerala as well, after schools were shut for the COVID outbreak, they reopen from today, but in a staggered manner. From November 1st, it starts with classes 1 to 7 and 10 and 12 with COVID protocols like bio bubbles in place, with 95% of the population who are over 18 years of age being vaccinated with at least the first dose of the vaccine, as well as a reduction in the number of new cases. Now in Kerala, the decision to relax these restrictions and schools reopening. We're joined by Dr. Sunila Garg, member Lancet Commission COVID India Task Force, Sudha Acharya, Principal, ITL Public School, and Anubha Srivastav, President, India-wide Parents Association. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Dr. Sunila Garg, it's finally time that schools did reopen. I know a lot of people and experts have been pushing that we need to go ahead. What are the concerns you have? What are your views on schools reopening now?
Thank you, Gargi. Basically, it's a very, very exciting moment. Because, when I as the President had issued the advisory which went to the Prime Minister, Health Minister and all regarding reopening the schools, because we always believed as public health experts that there is no trade-off between virtual education and opening of the schools. So that is one thing which is very, very important. And when I today see the schools which are opening, and they are opening in staggered manner in some places, and some places they are opening at 50% capacity. I am sure parents' hesitancy will go very soon. And another byproduct of this, I can see that children will learn about the importance of sanitization. They will learn about the importance of Swachh Bharat, hygiene. They will also learn about, the excitement, what you can see, the happiness, what they are getting. So they will learn about, interaction, about the importance of interaction with each other, what all they have lost. And another important thing is that one important thing which was mentioned about, cleanliness in the bathrooms, which is being maintained. So children will also remember and learn those things as well. So there are so many things, which they are going to learn. And that is where they have to catch up with the education. And I'm sure that parents' hesitancy will be removed very soon, because unnecessary hesitation has got to be addressed as well.
Right. Sudha Acharya, if you could tell us what are the challenges with the schools reopening? As we said, staggered classes, 50%, children being allowed in some places. So a lot of, rules, protocols to be followed. So a challenging way but finally, with all the loss of education and learning that has happened in the last 2 years, finally schools reopening.
Yeah, at the outset, I must welcome the decision to reopen the school, as Dr. Sunila was saying. The children are so happy and excited. What we did last whole week, we did orientation, sensitization program for the small children, how they can take the onus of responsibility of taking care of themselves and helping others. So our children are ready completely. The challenges are many, of course. So we are opening school staggered wise. First day, we are opening on 8th because our school is closing for Diwali holidays from tomorrow onwards in North Delhi, North side. It's a biggest festival. So, and parents were on, they were planning vacation and all. So today we could not open. We are opening on 8th and completely school is sanitized, staggered opening. We have got 5-6 gates. So class wise, we have distributed the gates also, and nursery to class 8, only A sections are coming on 8th. Then B section, C section, then again we'll combine AB, then ABC. Slowly we are going, taking all precaution given by Government of India, given by Delhi government, and we have created our own SOP. Parents are our partners. They are helping us in entry, exit. Timings are also different, staggered timing. The classes are divided, as ma'am was saying, that 20 in each. But now I see that students are ready to take the responsibility. 9th and 12th, they are coming. But I see at no point they put down their mask down. And as you said, one of the challenges, as online and offline, both the classes will continue. There the teachers, we are facing problem to manage the timetable. Because the teacher who is teaching class 9th is also teaching class 8th. So one class 9th physically present in our school, she is teaching in the classroom, and next class is from another room taking online classes. So that's the biggest challenge, because unless we come to the complete normalcy, these challenges will be there.
All right. So it is going to be challenging moving ahead. Hopefully things will smoothen up. Anubha Srivastav, your concerns and what do parents have to say?
Yeah, thank you, Gagi. It's a very important discussion, and thanks for having me here. See, as far as parents are concerned, most of the parents still are not in favor of sending their children to school unless vaccines are available. So, and even we know that teachers are also not vaccinated. Maybe in some private schools they have done the vaccination part, but many schools, not only in Delhi but even other states also, they don't have any data how many teachers are vaccinated. We have been demanding, we have been asking state government that how many teachers are vaccinated, but they don't have any data. So parents are a bit concerned because cases are rising in the states where the schools have been reopened since last 1 month. Like in Maharashtra, we can see in Karnataka and in West Bengal also, we got to know that many children are now positive. In Maharashtra, some schools are shut down now because some students were tested positive. So there is a risk involved because these students, they can become carriers and they can bring COVID home. So it's a bit risky as of now unless vaccination is done. Yes, we are also waiting for the schools to reopen and been demanding vaccination for all the teachers and students.
Right,
So
the vaccine for children, however, I think, will only be available by next year properly. Dr. Sunila Garg, what would your response be to, these concerns raised? And yes, I think each school will have to watch very closely if they do have some cases of COVID, then, certain steps would have to be taken. Also, hopefully all the parents at home are vaccinated. And yes, schools must have their staff and teachers vaccinated.
Yeah, one of the very important questions, and I would like to address the concern of Anubha as a parent also and a representative of Parent Association. One of the important things, Anubhaji, which you have to remember, that vaccines will never prevent us against infection. They only prevent us against mild infection, severe infection and hospitalization. And our children are going to get mild infections and they will recover fast. That is one thing which you have to remember because they have lesser of ACE receptors. And if you will go few months back, you remember that we had all the schools closed, children were supposed to be at home, but fourth sero survey showed 60% seropositivity in children. So how did it come in children? Because somewhere the children have already been exposed, and those who have been exposed, they have got good amount of antibodies. So one thing we have to remember that we have to start opening with class 1 onwards. And that, we have to see that children follow COVID appropriate behavior, and remember mask for coming years is going to be our very, very important social vaccine. In first wave, we never had any vaccine. It was only mask which prevented us. So this is the message I want you all to go ahead with, and please address the concerns of other parents as well. We should not, even if the vaccine is there, first, our strategic and smart move should be to vaccinate children who are obese, who are suffering from, immune disorders, or they are diabetic, hypertensive, especially they'll be more in 12 to 18 years of age group. And gradually, to my mind, it does not bother me as a teacher in Maulana Azad Medical College or as a faculty. If some of my, in medical colleges, adult people come in. But, when in the schools, the younger children come in. So you see, it doesn't bother me if out of 2,000 children, if 100 fall sick, because they are going to recover very, very fast. As it happened in flu and all that, before the vaccine came, the population got, totally protected. So that
I think that's what's been seen in other countries as well, where they have gone ahead with the schools opening.
If I can come in for 1 minute here.
Yes.
I can say that all our staff, including conservancy staff, support staff, we are about to start our transport. So all driver, conductors, all are vaccinated. We have made sure that, and government is collecting data continuously. Yes. Every day we are giving how many are left. So the data is collected by the government, whether the school staff is vaccinated
All right. So
or
these
not.
are issues that need to be, looked at. And of course, parents also work with the schools to ensure, the safest sort of environment, safest sort of place for the children to go and learn. But yes, I think everybody's agreed that schools need to reopen. Children need to get back into classes. I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program this morning.